Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Shadow Ideas channel. Here's another tutorial by me, Alex, on the IRX Studios sort of series I'm doing. Today I'm going to be showing you how to convert your artwork from Photoshop or similar programs that can save PSDs, PNGs, JPEGs, anything like that, and take it into Adobe Illustrator or equivalent programs. If you haven't figured yet, I'm going to be using Photoshop and Illustrator, and then I'm going to be taking that artwork from Illustrator, saving it as a scalable vector graphic or SVG, and then importing that into Blender and extruding to make something kind of pretty. I'll walk you through step by step what I do, why I do it, and then we'll have a little bit of fun with shading in cycles and having a look at the difference between cycles and Eevee. So let me show you what I want to do. I want to do this. So this is a font I use called Codec Warm Logo in bold. Now you can see here the E is slightly stretched out. Here it is not. And we can do this with anything. So I found another word that worked was, I'm doing it in capitals, tropical. You can see the T, the C and the A get stretched out, which is kind of a really nice effect. I like that. Now if we jump over to Blender, this is the exact same font, Codec Warm Logo, but Blender just does not want to add that nicety in. However, what Blender does do nicely is allows me to extrude the text really easily. That was way too much. Oh, we'll go with that. And it allows us to play with bevel. So leave it at that. Anyway, I'm not going to be doing that. What I am going to be doing is converting this into something. So let's start fresh, delete this layer, load up your editing program, and we'll just start with a base layer. Grab your type tool, select whatever font you want. It doesn't just work with these dynamic ligature fonts, it also works with any font that you want, and you can also use any sort of graphic you want, so it doesn't have to be type, it can be a logo or something like that. So I'm just going to stick with the type because this is what I want to show you how to do. So create and type in Blender, literally just deleted it and created it for no reason, and I'm going to center it on the screen, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to trim the transparent pixels, and then I'm just going to make it a tad bigger again, 4000, and the height will go for 500, just so we've got a little bit of transparent space, and you'll see why in a minute. So grab my hand tool just so I can bring it up. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As, PNG with transparency, keep all of these settings the same, export, and I'll save in here as Blender type, saved. So once you've done that, close, no I don't want to save, and we will load up Adobe Illustrator. Now I do not use Adobe Illustrator for anything else. I don't know how to use it, in all honesty. The only thing I know how to do, or what to use it for, is this specifically. So we're going to wait for it to load up. Ta-da! And you can see I've already been playing with this quite a lot with my logos, and especially like here, my brother, he is a DJ, made him a custom logo, so that is literally a font, and I've gone into Photoshop and I cut out the middle just it's got like a strike through. And same with this logo here, just cut out sections of letters to make it look a little bit cooler, a little bit more spacey, sciencey. So go to new file, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to select print and create. So you'll get this A4 sized canvas. Go to file, place, and then you're going to go to your area that you've saved it. For example, it's here, blendertype.png, and just click anywhere on this canvas. And I've made it quite big, so I'm just going to hold shift as well so that the scaling is uniform. In fact, I'm going to bring it in to the center here and just bring it down to about there, and we'll stick it in the center. The other important thing to note with this process is that it should be black. Using white text does not work. It's like an eye. Illustrator is like an eye, it needs to be able to see it, so if you put in white on white, it just won't work. Anyway, so we're going to click the object, go to Object, Image Trace, and we're going to press Make and Expand. And what that's going to do is going to convert each letter to a separate sort of path. Now if we zoom in, you can see when we hover over the D, not the best choice of letter to pick straight away. When we hover over the N, you're going to have the blue outline which shows you what it is. For the D as well, if we go into the middle, you'll see that there is another path inside. So what we're going to do is we're just going to double click and select and delete that. As you can imagine, that is going to be the same for the B. So just click and select. Oh, I didn't want isolation mode. Come out of there. Click and delete. And the same for the R. Now there's going to be one more box. Can you see it? Click and delete. So now we have these individual letters. As you can see down here, we have the B, the L, the E, the N, D, E, R. Cool, that would have been embarrassing if I fully messed that up. Anyway, so what we're going to do now, don't need to worry about any more of the white space. We're going to go to File, Save As. I'm just going to save it under the same place, but I'm going to go to Save As Type, SVG, and we'll just type in Blender Type SVG, just to separate it out. Keep that as is, and we are done. Now for the fun stuff. Load up Blender. I'm using version 3.1 alpha because I wanted to play with caustics, but you don't need to. Anyway, default scene. A to select all, delete, or X to get rid. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Import, Scalable Vector Graphics .svg. Going to go to Desktop, and we're going to select that SVG file we made. Where is it? It's super tiny. So we're going to select all, and we're going to scale up. Just like that. We're also going to select each one and delete these materials. When you import an SVG from Illustrator like this, it creates an SVG matte material, and I don't like it because it just makes it a bit difficult to see in this viewport when we don't have it set to render. I'm going to select all. I'm now going to go to Join with one of them selected. So if we, for example, click the B, hold Shift, click the L, click the E, the N, the D, the E, and the R, the last one will be a slightly brighter orange. Go to Object, Join, or Control J. Now we have one object. what we're going to do now, just to make things a little bit more easy for us, so that we can center it in our scene, is go to Object, Set Origin, Origin to the center of mass. Now there is no volume to it at the moment, so just press that, and there we go. You can see that orange dot now in the middle of our curve as it is. So I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to center it out like so. I'm going to go to the Y, and I am going to press select that, sorry. I'm going to do RX 90, just so it's facing up. There we go. And then I am going to move it up, GZ, and just bring it up a little bit. Whilst you're here, might as well go Shift A, Camera, come to the Y, Control Alt Numpad 0 to bring the camera view to the viewport. And there we have it. So we can just mess about with this a little bit. So I'm going to go -8, and the Z we shall bring up to 1 meter actually. That should be good. Fantastic. Right. Now let's get making this 3D. Now at the moment, if we press it and go to our modifiers and press Solidify, it works straight away. In previous versions of Blender, it did not like this, so what you would have to do is click it, go to Object, Convert to Mesh, and then we can start playing again. So, and you get a lot more. So Solidify, and you get this really weird sort of effect going on. Don't know why. Easy fix. Change the offset to 0, and it goes away. Now we have our 3D type with the ligature, the dynamic E, which is what I want. The only downfall of this process is that if I want to change that word, I've got to restart the process all over again. Go into Photoshop, save, Illustrator, save, and then import. So if you're not too worried about this, stick to what you know, use the type tool. Anyway, so I am going to go for a thickness of 0.05. No, I'm not. 0.005. Just so it's got a little bit of thickness, but not too much. And there we go. So I'm going to apply that. Now, one other thing is, I showed you that we could do bevel with the type tool. No, not with this. At least I haven't managed to find a way for it to work. It's kind of annoying me. We'll go to edges then. Yeah, see, this this is why this process is good if you're doing something very, very specific. Yeah, so we're going to leave the bevel alone. Anyway, on to making something kind of pretty. So I am going to press Shift A, Mesh, Plane. I'm just going to scale it up to about there, and I'm going to press Control A and apply the scale. Whilst you're at it, select your text, Control A, apply the scale. It just makes things a lot easier. Go to your camera view, make sure that that's nicely lined up, so scale along the X. And I want to make sure that the two back vertices are outside of that box. And then we're going to scale on the Y-axis, just so that the camera is above the plane in this view. Going to click on the plane, press Tab to go into edit mode, and make sure you're selecting vertex. So vertex select, click off the plane, select that point, hold Shift, select that point. I'm going to press E to extrude, Z to go extruding up in the top direction, and just click when you're done. There we go. So we've got this nice sort of photography background with a sharp edge. I don't want that sharp edge. What I would like to do is click on the plane, add modifier, go to bevel, bring that up to, let's just say, 1 meter, and increase the segments all the way to 100. Now you've got this nice curve, and if you go back to camera view, you can see it's got a nice gradient to it. Obviously we're going to have a bit more fun with this when we go into shading. So I'm just going to apply that, and then I'm going to go to add modifier, and this is something that's kind of cool. You go to Solidify, increase the thickness, and I suppose that's how you would model like a half pipe for your skateboarding. So 0.5, apply. Fantastic. Now I'm just going to scale this up a little bit more, about there, and position it to the center. Fantastic. Again, Control A, scale. I'm going to switch over now to my render view, and we have nothing. I'm going to go to my render settings here, and I'm going to select cycles and use GPU compute. Viewport max should be 300. Render, it shouldn't need any more than 500. So what we're going to do, select the plane, and we're going to create a new window here, and select shader editor. Press new for new material, like so, and I am going to make this fully metallic and get rid of all the roughness. You can see it turns it into kind of like a mirror, but we're going to do something a bit more fun with that shortly. Let's just add a light here, Shift A, light, point, G, Z to move, G and Z to move up, scale, go to light settings, radius increase, and power up to 250 will be fine. So it's nicely lit up, the blender, and you can see the reflection of it in the metallic. So now we've got that, I'm going to make it a bit rough in places, make it look a bit puddly, a bit wet. So we're going to go Shift A, add a color ramp, disable your caps locks, and I'm going to go Shift A, and we're going to search for a noise texture. I'm going to plug the color of the noise texture into the factor of the color ramp, and then the color of the color ramp into the roughness of the material. So now you've got this nice sort of effect going on. So play with these settings and get it how you like. What the color ramp does is brings the shininess on the black side and the roughness on the white side. So the more white you have, the rougher it is. You see that these bits are the black controlled and the white. So just play with that until you get something which looks a bit like that. So you can see it's almost like a puddle. I'm happy with that, and we can even play with the detail. Distortion adds a nice sort of like cloudy wave effect, so I'm happy with that for now. I am going to delete that point light, and I'm actually going to now add an area light, and I'm going to move it above the Blender logo. I'm going to scale it along the x-axis only, just so it goes all the way across. And I might be cheeky and scale it in the y direction a bit more. Go back to your camera, just push it up so it's out of view, and then we are going to increase the power. and maybe pick a nice muted blue like that. That's looking good. And then we can go one step further. Shift A, light area, bring that along to the front like so. Yep, we can't see it. We're going to rotate it along the x-axis until it's pointing somewhere towards that Blender logo, which it is. That's nice. We're going to scale it along the x-axis again, increase its power, just so there's a bit of front lighting there as well. And we're going to go for a sort of pink. I like that. Now, let's have some fun with this logo itself. Click New, and I am going to make it transparent, get rid of all of the roughness, so that looks like glass. That's great. You can add transmission roughness if you wanted to, but I'm going to keep that off. I'm going to change the instance of refraction, just so it looks like it is actually doing something with the light. Now what I'm going to do is create an emission material. So instead of using this emission color, I'm going to go to Shift A, color ramp, Shift A, layer weight. Now with this, I've made cylinders where the emissive is just in the middle, and around the edge it looks like glass. So it looks like a sort of neon tube. It looks really fantastic. In this, it doesn't work like that did. This makes it look like the only way I've managed to find a way of explaining it. If you ever go to, especially in the UK, an estate agents, they'll have their properties displayed in these sort of glass panes, and they are lit up. And that's how this is going to look, and it looks really good. So, zoom in. We are going to plug Fresnel into the factor, and then color of the color ramp into the emission. And we are going to press this tools arrow and flip color ramp. Going to increase the emission strength just a tad. And then we're going to play with these points until we get that nice sort of effect, like so. That looks pretty good. If we flip it actually again, bring that in. So you just want to play with it until you get it the way you want, and then I'm going to select a nice sort of I like purple, like so. That's pretty cool. Just play with those settings a bit more, increase the emission strength or decrease. I'm going to go for a value of 10. Yeah, that's cool. And just play with this blend until you get something that's kind of like that. That's good. You could go one step further if you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled. I'll show you another quick trick. Go to Preferences, go to Add-ons, and just type in Node and make sure Node Wrangler is selected. And then on here we're going to press Control and T. Don't need that mapping node. Yes we do. I will Control Z that. Plug the vector into the normal. And then we can play about with these sort of positionings. So we can go generated, which doesn't look too bad, looks very 80s. Normal, no. UV, no. Object. So that's blending outwards, so the main point is where the most pink is, and the outside is going to be purple. So again, if we play with that, you can kind of see the effect there. That looks kind of good actually. Using the camera's position to get this nice banding. Might even keep that. Window and reflection. But I'm going to go with camera. That looks really cool to me. Yeah, that looks good to me. And just increase that emission strength just a tad more. Fantastic. Right, now let's add a bit of volume and maybe turn this area light down just a touch. .75, and this one we can bump up to 75 as well. That's cool. Right, go to your world settings, select color, bring it down. That's cool. Go to volume, and we're going to select principled volume, and everything practically disappears. That's because the density is way too high. I'm just going to select a value of 0.1 or even 0.2. That's a little bit too much. If it is too much, you can always again increase your light strength. And do something like that. That looks really cool. Change the color of the volume a little bit. And there we have it. And then we can go and render that image once we have upped it to 4K, because I love 4K. Render region only, output PNG, and then render. And once it's denoised, we have something a little bit like this. So I'm actually going to save as desktop, and I'm going to save it as Blender Tut thumbnail. Yeah, and can keep the alpha, doesn't matter. Save image, done. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight on how to make SVGs and how to import them into Blender and make something kind of pretty. We'll just show you what it looks like if we switch over to Eevee. Not awful. We'll just enable all of those. And we need to go into the material settings and enable screen space refraction, and we can actually just bring that emission strength down. Delete the layer weight node like that. Bring that black sorry, oops. Flip the color ramp, bring that black in. No, we do need the layer weight. We're going to select facing on this one. And just play with it until you get something a bit like that. So that's in Eevee. Again, looks really cool, and Eevee is a lot quicker to kind of render with. I would even suggest using Eevee, making this project, and then switching over to cycles towards the end. Anyway, sorry it got a bit spotty towards the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, hope you've learned something. If there's anything you want to know, please ask me a question in the comments. Subscribe, comment, like, share, do what you need to do. I'm not massive on Blender, but I do enjoy doing these sort of things, so please let me know what sort of thing you'd want to see, and hopefully see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Grab the mic with the real